Right. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Jasmine Knighton. I am one of the optimizers here at Vine Skills, working to get folks launched into Filevine as well as FVDA or Outlaw. And then we also work on optimizations. And this free help session, I'll let Zoe introduce herself and then we can jump in.
Yeah, thank you, Jasmine. So my name is Zoe. I am also an optimizer. I do a little bit of implementation, so getting clients launched and live, but I mostly enjoy the optimization side of things. So helping you really leverage Filevine when you're already using it.
Awesome. Thanks, Zoe. So today we're going to go over DocGens. If you all have any questions as Zoe's going through, feel free to use that Q&A feature at the bottom. We'll get those questions answered for you in real time. And yeah, feel free to take it away, Zoe.
Awesome. Okay, so I am going to share my screen here and make sure I share. Can y'all see this window here?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just our sandbox. And I like to start off with DocGens, just showing what they are. So in any given section, you can have a widget, and this is what it looks like. And you are able to choose a template and generate it within that section. And if it's a collection section, within that collection item. So to set this up, you have to place that widget first, and then you can add documents to it. So if you have your advanced access here, I like to open that up in a new window. And to place the widget, you will go through Customs Editor and choose your template. You'll see again, this is our sandbox, so we have quite a few examples. I'm going to choose our personal injury. And I'm not going to place an actual widget just yet, but I'll go through the movements of how to do it. So in the section that you choose, or an intake here, you can go down to the bottom and you'll see a plus icon here and also one down at the bottom. They do the same thing. So click either option. And instead of field, we want to select widget. And the widget type, you'll choose DocGen. I recommend using the multi versus the single, just for editing and longevity of that widget and the use of it. So the single one has some restrictions, such as once you upload one template to it, you can't upload anymore. So that's where it gets its name, being a single DocGen widget. You can't ever delete that template, but you can replace it or edit it. You can't again delete it. The DocGen multi allows you to upload as many document templates as you would like, and you can edit them, you can delete them. So it just gives you a lot more flexibility. So I would choose the multi, give it a prompt. So for an intake, maybe I just want to call it generate welcome docs or intake docs, whatever it may be. You can add an auto tag. I like to keep these pretty brief, especially with a DocGen multi-template, because say, for example, an intake, you're not only going to add maybe welcome docs, maybe you have your retainer, maybe you have your HIPAA that you're going to have the client sign. And so it wouldn't make sense just to hashtag welcome, right? So I like to keep these pretty broad if I'm going to apply them. And then I also like to select a folder to have these documents auto-save to help keep your doc section a little bit organized. So if you have a folder structure in place, you can pre-designate that pathway. And then down here at the bottom is where you would choose the row and column or order in your row in which you would like to place it in that section. You can make it contingent. So for example, if you have for your welcome docs, maybe you're not signing this client and you're referring them out, or just declining it altogether, you can have this only contingent on case signed yes or no equaling yes. So you can apply contingencies to these as well. Once that is placed, you can go to DocGens Setup. And if you have multiple project types like we do, you would just choose the one in which you just placed your widget. I'm going to continue to work in personal injury. And so from there, once you have the widget placed, it tells you what sections you have widgets in available to work on. If we take a look at case summary, we have multiple. There's 2 widgets here. So again, I could choose which one I want to work on. Insurance, I only have 1, so there's not a drop down here. Same thing for intake and medicals. But again, you could have as many in one section as you would like. If we take a look here, for example, we already have an LOR uploaded. We have a set of tools here for docs that are already uploaded. I can download it. I can rename it if I would like to. Maybe this is going to be my liability LOR. I could add that in. I could upload a replacement, or I could delete it. And I could also add an additional template here. Once you have it here, also, you can access the field list. And this field list is going to be your list of field selectors that are specific to that section in that widget. So I would not be able to use this field list on case summary letters. So it's specific to that section and widget. It does take a minute to upload because if you can imagine, all of the fields in your Filevine are trying to be put into a form list, and that takes some time for it to extract those codes and put everything here. So this is what it looks like. And then once it fully loads, there will be a clipboard icon here. And that's what you would click on to copy and paste it into your document. I need to share my whole window with you guys. Give me 1 second. I'm going to move over to my second monitor. Okay. So say, for example, I'm going to open up a new Word doc, just a blank document. And I want to code this out and upload it. So it's not already uploaded, but I have it on my computer and I want to add it. You have a couple different options. If it is a document that you previously used in your legacy system and it has existing coding and you try to upload it, you're going to get an error and it's not going to let you. So that means you'll just have to edit the codes on your computer before you can upload it. And sometimes if you're able to upload it first, then again, it would be here and you can double click, open it in that preview window. It'll ask you for permission. And there is that doc. So for ones that are already uploaded, that's the route. You don't ever need to download it. Filevine has this save in place feature. So you'll notice here, I'm going to just type some gibberish. And if you're on a Mac, you can hit Command S. If you're on a Windows computer, hit Control S, or you can also click this floppy disk icon. You'll notice it says saving and then saved. If I come back to my Filevine preview and I refresh, you'll see my updated gibberish there, and I can go ahead and remove it. Edit my
You'll know
document.
it's saving into Filevine because there's a long string of numbers and letters behind your document name. And so that's kind of the signal to you to know that you're saving into Filevine directly.
Yes. So that save in place feature is probably one of my favorite things ever with DocGens, because you never have to download it. If you do end up downloading it, you can use that replace feature here. Okay, so let's say we have the doc on our computer and I want to upload it or code it from there. So I usually have, and I apologize, I have these codes kind of memorized at this point, but this is going to give you the day spelled out. And that's the day that you're generating it. So this would appear as July 19th, 2023. If I just did today, then it would show up as 07/19/2023. So you have those two different options, and it tells you those here, right at the top. And you can see the format that it'll appear. So generally at the top of a letter, you want it spelled out. So it's just going to be this. Go ahead and remove that. And then I like to use Command F or Control F to search, because you'll notice this scroll bar here is very small. And again, it's pulling in every field that it possibly can in Filevine. So if we're in the insurance section, maybe I want to address the insurance company. So I'm going to type that out and then type in address. And it should filter down. Takes a second. There we go. So you have a couple different options. On the insurance cards themselves or contact cards, you can get up to 10 addresses. So you'll notice it says address 1, address 2, address 3, and that's pulling from right here. So I could keep adding an address up to 10. This isn't really super helpful with a DocGen because who's going to know that every firm member is putting in, okay, address 1 is going to be the address that we send letters to. Address 2 is going to be the address that we request something from rather than sending them. So I usually code just using address 1. And if it's already an insurance company, we don't need the one with company info. If I was going to address the letter to the adjuster and pull in the adjuster's contact card, I would include the one with company info. But we're going to click this little clipboard and we'll come over here and pull in their address block. The reason we want to choose address block for this instance rather than just address 1, address block is going to give you that like envelope type of format. It's going to be their name, street, and then if there's a street 2, it'll pull that in, and then it'll give you city, state, and zip. So it pulls that in really nicely. And if you use the one with the company name, it just puts the company name right below. So it gives you that pretty format rather than this one here is going to just be one long line of an address with their name. From there, you likely have regarding, and then maybe client. Maybe we have incident date. So whatever codes you're needing, I would use that Command or Control F. So I'm going to type in client full name. This will give me first, middle, last if it's all entered versus being able to split it out first name, middle name, last name. Full name extended is going to include any of those prefix, suffix additions that they have here. Let's go ahead and copy client name. And then incident date. Just this incident date as this current format. So similar to today long, this or versus just today, this is going to give you that breakdown this way. If you wanted it to be the long version, the spelled out version, it's going to look like this format here. And this is always referenced here. If you search Booleans at the very bottom, it's just easier than scrolling. So down here at the bottom, we get a bunch of different format options, and you can see long date versus short date. You can extract just the month, the day, the year, and it gives you the output options or examples. You also have some other string modifiers. So if you wanted to extract the last 4 of someone's social, you would use these types of modifiers here. If you're doing any kind of lit documents and your captions need to be capitalized, you would apply this here. So these all are filled in with field name. So field name would be incident date or client name. And at the end, that's where you see, whoops, capitalize. Down here at the bottom, this gives you multiple lines, not super common that you would use this one. And then if you have any kind of Boolean or contingent fields that you want to try to add this logic to, you have these options here as well. I'm going to leave this here and maybe we'll just do incident dates. You can see the two different formats. And we'll upload this as an example. Make sure we have data. So if there's no data in the contact card, this is what I'm looking at here. State Farm doesn't have an address, so that's not going to pull in, but we could switch it over to the adjuster contact. So that's something to always look at too. So I'll show you what that looks like. And then let's see what else we could pull in. We have a claim number and policy number. You can pull those in if there's no data entered. So I wouldn't be able to get a driver contact in, but I could pull policy owner. Let's do claim number here. Policy number. Always make sure to, sometimes if you have duplicate fields, just be super cautious of which one you're pulling in, and you can tell where it's coming from by the first word in that code. So this is telling me it's in the insurance section versus, let's see. We have codes here that say intake and loss. So that's going to be our intake section. And then just for purposes of proving that if no data is there, we'll pull in the driver. Okay. Let me go ahead and save this. We'll save it to my desktop. And now, since it's on my computer, I can upload it. And then once I go to my section, I'm going to refresh my screen. Go into my card, and there is my today letter. So I'm going to click that and select generate. And it can take a second to generate this as well. Once it's ready, you'll see it flash up in yellow, and you can click it to open it in the preview window. And that shows you every code that was pulled in. So we have State Farm. They did not have an address here, but we're pulling in today's date. We have the adjuster. He didn't have a company name on his contact card, so that's not pulling in. But we get his full address. We get the client's name capitalized and normal. There's not an incident date entered, so that came up blank, but we get our claim number and policy number, and again, no driver entered. You can always open this up in Word here. So after you generate it, if you want to make edits, you can do that here as well. So let's say we want to remove State Farm. We don't need this, or maybe we leave that, we can remove this. Maybe we know the incident date is going to be 6/13/2022. You can change the formatting, just remove that driver. And again, I can do Command S, Control S, or just click the floppy disk. You'll notice it says saved. Come back here and refresh. And there are my updates. So after you generate, you can make updates as well. That saves you from having to go back in. Oh, shoot, I didn't have an incident date entered. You have to go back to intake to enter that in. And then you have to go regenerate that letter to get the updated version. And at that point, you're going to have duplicate letters that have been generated. So up to you, but I always err on the side of caution and try to stress that everybody is putting all the data that they possibly can in Filevine so that they're helping their team members in this instance. Anybody have any questions?
None have come through so far.
Okay. Did I miss anything, Jasmine?
I don't think so.
No, I went
Yeah,
through that
thank
kind
you.
of quick.
You did a great job. You can also do DocGens on like PDFs
Mm-hmm.
and I believe Excel as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't like the formatting of Word, most folks are using Word, but there are some other opportunities to do these DocGens. I think thing to consider is for firms, some firms have documents that update like every month. And so you would have to like go in, redo your documents each time that they've been updated in the back end, as opposed to editing in place. When you edit in place, it's only for that specific document that you generated, not on a global level. So just keep that in mind. If you know that you have documents that maybe change that frequently, you'll want to like put in a task maybe so that somebody remembers to go in and change those, on a monthly recurring basis or something like that.
That's a good point. Yeah. The Excel formatting is similar to Word, as you have your Excel document open on your computer and you put your codes in the cells. They are a little bit finicky. So like sometimes codes don't want to pull into cells that have been merged together. And then if you're using a date, so incident date, it will pull in the date and then timestamp it, I believe, with 12 p.m. And I have not been able to figure out how to get it not to do that. But at that point, once you generate it, you're going to edit it after to remove that timestamp. And then for PDF DocGens, you edit them actually in here. I don't think I have a PDF example that I can use. But once you upload the PDF here, there will be a gear wheel for the settings, and you would click on that and it will identify the fields on the PDF form for you. And then it'll show you how many you have, and you're able to click in those boxes and search for the codes that you're wanting to use in those fields. So it's all within Filevine rather than having a separate window here of Microsoft or Adobe or what other PDF editing system. Let's see, with DocGens, is there a way to reference collection section dollar totals? Yes. So outside of collection sections, you can pull in the total. So even though this tells me it's my field list for insurance, I could still search for, let's see, I know in our medical section, we have a total original balance. So there we go. It tells me medicals, total original balance, and I can pull that in. Good question.
If you're trying to pull from like an individual instance within your collection section, you would have to house this DocGen in the medical section to pull that, or do a fusion if you want it to stay in your insurance. But if you're just looking to pull the total original balance, again, not from a specific, you can use that code.
Yes. Just to add more detail and explain that a little bit further, I would not be able to pull in a provider contact card or a provider account patient ID or date treatment started. Basically, any other field I would not be able to pull in. The only reason we're able to pull in totals is because it's recognizing the currency fields and totaling those for you. But if you wanted specific detailed data from these medical cards, the DocGen would either need to be housed in the med section, or if you wanted to keep it in insurance for a specials letter, a demand, anything like that, it would likely end up being a fusion. What's the surefire way of identifying a field for info I'm trying to populate in a doc? I usually like to have one window open here with the project. That way I can reference and say, okay, I know I have this field in intake, so I want to be sure I pull that in. You can copy and paste that field and just go to your field list and search for it one-to-one. Here we go. And I could copy and paste that over. So that's a good way to make sure you're coding the docs correctly. Is that what you were asking? Awesome. Good questions. Any other questions? Okay. One thing to note on that, actually, so we have a couple different sections here, static versus collection. Intake is a static section, so I'm clicking on it and boom, the data is in my face. Same thing with case summary, data right there, damages, data right there. Versus insurance, we have this Rolodex of collection items or cards, and we have an add item button. So again, if I'm generating a letter in any of my static sections, my data for the collection items that I'm able to pull is going to be very limited, but you can always check them again by copy and pasting that field into your field list and seeing if it's an option to populate there or not. Any other questions? Oh, I'm glad. You're very welcome. I love DocGens. Once I get in a groove of doing them, it's so, I don't know what the word is. That instant gratification of seeing them in there. It's always good to do a little bit of trial and error. Also, once you upload it, try generating it and see how it looks. Okay. We can talk about Mass DocGen as well. So Mass DocGen is an advanced tool, and you have to have the advanced permission as well as be an admin to use it. So let me close out of these. I'll leave that open. Is it possible to set a DocGen to automatically generate based on it? Unfortunately, no. You can't auto-generate document. That'd be really cool though.
That would be. You can do a task that like tells somebody to go in and generate it based off of the phase change, but that would be the only kind of, I guess, workaround for that.
Yeah. A lot of people ask for this though. I don't know if it's, I'm sure it's been submitted feedback to Filevine, so I'm sure it's on their radar, but I don't know if it's a possibility that they'd be able to make happen.
Can you show them how to do feedback, Zoe? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So up here, you have a question mark, and there is an option here at the top, share your feedback. And generally, if you start typing here, so we could say auto DocGen, for example, it will recognize what you're typing in and give you suggestions of items that have already been recommended or submitted. And you can always click on this and open it in a tab to review in more detail. Sometimes people provide more detail here. Take a look at another one. And if you want it, there's a thumbs up here, so you can upvote it, which Filevine pays attention to. And you can also snooze it and say, this isn't something I'm interested in. So you can also do that here as well by clicking, I want this. And if this is not what you're looking for, you can continue to provide feedback of what you're trying to achieve and what your current workaround is, upload screenshots, and select the product area that this is applicable to. So this would be Docs or Docs Plus or DocGen in that instance. Okay. All right. So Mass DocGen, I'm going to open it in a new tab. And this is a tool that can be used for a couple different instances. So if you are changing office locations and you want to send a letter to all of your clients, or maybe even all of the med providers that you work with, lean providers that you work with, and you just want to send out a letter to everybody notifying them of the new address, this would be a good use case. If you have a letter or something you send out to your clients that have July birthdays, August birthdays coming up, and you just want to send them a quick letter saying happy birthday and wish them well, Mass DocGen would be the way to do it. Again, it does require that advanced tool permission as well as to be an admin. And it is based off of a report. So I would like to choose my personal injury template again, and it's going to ask me what report I want to use. So let's just say demo, for example. In actuality, if I was going to do this, I would go build my report first and then come back here and select that report after it's saved. Let's say we house that happy birthday letter in the case summary. Likely not in one of those. Let's choose intake. Maybe we'll use the welcome letter. There's no letters uploaded here. So you want to have your widget and then the letter uploaded to that template. So you would go through all of those same steps here and just upload the letter. And then via Mass DocGen, you're able to select it and say, we're going to queue this Mass DocGen for all clients that have appeared on this demo report. This does not send out that document. This will only generate the document for you. Once it is queued and complete, you'll see a job status here of complete. You can go back to, let's go to here. So this is what it would look like, is you would see that generated letter, and from there you can fax it or email it or print it to mail it out. So again, it just generates it in those projects. It does not send it out. So at that point, you would likely delegate to your paralegal or to your legal assistants to say, hey, for your specific caseload, you're responsible for sending this letter out. It's already generated. Just go get it and send it. Any questions on that?
Doesn't look like any have come through.
Sounds good. Is there anything else you want me to cover, Jasmine?
I don't think so. Somebody asked about fusions, but we do have a free help session on August 9th. That's gonna go over fusions. So feel free to join us if you kind of want a little bit more in-depth look at that, because it is a little bit different than the DocGens. And then I believe, I'm not sure if the person is on the call, somebody asked about FVDA. It is a little bit more than DocGens. It allows you to pull from multiple collection sections. Excuse me. DocGens only allow you to pull from one collection section, which is why you either need like a fusion or again, FVDA. I'm going to go ahead and put my email address and Zoe's email address in the chat. That way, if you all ever need anything, have any questions, want to engage in our services, you're able to do that. Vine Skills, as we mentioned earlier, not only gets folks launched into Filevine, but helps optimize after they've been in Filevine as well. So if you were kind of sitting on today and you were like, great, I understand how to do a DocGen, I just don't have the time, or you're like, I have way too many documents, not enough resources, or I just don't want to do it. We're here to kind of help and be your Filevine expert at your firm. We do month-to-month services, so no long-term commitment or anything like that. You can retain our services again on a month-to-month basis. Maybe we do 10 DocGens for you in that month, and then you pause, come back a few months later, you've changed, edited, updated your DocGens and want new ones, can retain our services. If you're like, fusions are going to be way too difficult for me to manage, we can do those as well. If you just have questions about any of our services, we've added those. Zoe is one of our QuickBooks experts. And so if you all are looking to get QuickBooks or just kind of want to know what that integration looks like, can definitely help there. We try to cover all of the bases when it comes to Filevine and its capabilities. So feel free again to reach out to us. We can answer those questions, get you started with whatever you kind of need. I'll also put our free help session landing page in the chat. That way you all can see what upcoming sessions that we have, and then kind of mark your calendars from there if you or somebody in your firm would like to join. And then I'll also post in our videos, somebody asked kind of when and where these videos will be uploaded. The videos are uploaded here to that last link I sent under free help. Excuse me. You all have access to that and can, if you miss a session, can always go and look at those.
Awesome job. Thank you, Jasmine. And I will say, if you were the person that had a fusion question and you don't want to wait until the August 6th, feel free to email me. I love fusions as well. Happy to help.
Awesome. Any last minute questions? Perfect. Again, if anything comes up, feel free to reach out to us. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and thanks for joining us. Thanks, Zoe.
Everyone. Thank you.
Bye.